Hello everyone. Today we will try to understand the topic DNA replication. So DNA replication is the process of producing two identical replicas of DNA from one original DNA molecule, that is from parent to daughter cells. So why DNA replication is important? It is important for cell growth and the passing of information from one generation to another generation. Okay, so now we will try to understand what is the nature of DNA replication. So the nature of DNA replication is semi-conservative. So this was given by actually Watson and Crick, but this was proved by Messelson and Stahl experiment. But before that, there were several other models of DNA replications. So we'll just go through them one by one. The first one was the conservative model. Okay, so here it was said that the entire original DNA is replicated as it is and another DNA molecule is formed which does not contain any information from the parent DNA. Next was the dispersive model. So the DNA breaks into smaller fragments and then the new DNA molecule is formed. That is, there are smaller fragments of DNA of new DNA and small fragments of parent DNA in the same two new DNA molecules formed. So the next one is the semi-conservative model. Very important. It was proposed by Watson and Crick. So as we know, DNA is double-stranded. So in this process, what they explained is that the double strands of the DNA separate and each DNA strand works as the template DNA and then it forms another DNA molecule and the other one that also acts as template DNA and it also forms the another DNA. Hence we get two daughter DNA molecules. Let us now focus on the proof of the semi-conservative model that was given by the Messelson and Stahl experiment. So, Matthew Messelson and Franklin Stahl, they both provided the experimental proof for the semi-conservative model using E. coli bacteria. So, what they did was, they actually grew E. coli in a medium containing heavy nitrogen isotope, that was N15, okay, in the form of ammonium chloride, NH4Cl. So over many generations the bacteria incorporated N15, that is the heavy nitrogen isotope, into their DNA. Okay, so how will this be detected? How that was detected? So they basically used the cesium chloride density gradient centrifugation. Okay, why they use that? Because it basically separates the molecules or the material kept in the centrifuge on the basis of its density. So since the nitrogen 15 is heavier than the normal nitrogen 14 isotope, the DNA settled at a specific lower position in the centrifuge too. Now what they did next was they transferred the E. coli bacteria to the lower light nitrogen medium. So the bacteria was then transferred into light nitrogen N14 isotope and E. coli takes only 20 minutes to divide. So samples were taken at specific intervals to analyze the DNA density. Now what was the result and the observations? So at generation 0, the entire DNA was filled with like the heavy nitrogen isotope and the band appeared at the bottom. The centrifuge band appeared at the bottom. So in generation 1, which was after 20 minutes, the DNA was a intermediate like hybrid model of both the heavy nitrogen N15 isotope and the light nitrogen isotope N14. So what does this mean? This ruled out the conservative model, right? So next was the generation 2, which was after 40 minutes because one generation had 20 minutes. So the two types of DNA bands were observed, one hybrid and one light. This further confirmed that the parental strands were being conserved, and they were used as templates for further DNA replication. Okay, now what can we conclude after all this, like the Michelson-Stoll experiment and the mode of DNA replication? That the DNA replication is semi-conserved, means that the DNA strands are separated into two different entities which acts as templates, and then they form another DNA particle. Each new DNA molecule consists of one old, which means the conserved strand, and one new strand. Now we will clearly focus on the process of DNA replication. So as we already studied that it is a semi-conservative nature, and now let us see where it actually happens. So in prokaryotic organisms, DNA replication occurs in the cytoplasm, and in eukaryotes it occurs in the nucleus. Now next is, for DNA replications, what are the enzymes that are required? So you can see them as the tools. For the DNA replication we need enzymes, and they act as tools. What are those enzymes? The first one is helicase, second one is the DNA polymerase, the third one is RNA primase, and the fourth one is DNA ligase. So we can now let us see their roles and how they are commonly known. So the helicase enzyme is commonly known as the unzipping enzyme. It basically identifies the origin of replication. Okay, origin of replication is what? Ori. Okay, it is commonly said ori, and it breaks hydrogen bonds to separate DNA strands. Okay, so we know that the nucleotide presents in the DNA: adenosine, thymine, guanine, cytosine, right? ATGC. So they are attached with each other with hydrogen bonds. So the adenine is attached with thymine with double bond, and guanine, and the guanine is attached with cytosine with triple bonds. So which bond will be easier to break? Very simple, the double bond adenine and thymine bond will be easier to break. So this helicase enzymes does what is, it goes to the AT place, the AT region, and it breaks the bond, the hydrogen bond. And if this is the DNA, okay, and which it gives a signal to the DNA polymerase, hey, come, start from here. So DNA polymerase comes and then starts adding the nucleotide in that direction. Okay, the last enzyme, the key enzyme, is the DNA ligase. It is also known as gluing enzyme. Glue, we know glue, Fevicol and all, which sticks the things together. So it is also, it does the same job. Okay, so we'll study about Okazaki fragments, but keep in mind that there are Okazaki fragments in this process, and it joins the Okazaki fragments together. So let us move to the process so that we can understand much better. So first step is recognition of ori. What was ori? It was origin of replication. So which enzyme was used here? Helicase. Helicase looks for the sequence rich in adenine and thymine because they are held by only two hydrogen bonds, which is easier to break than the guanine cytosine pair. Then as the helicase breaks the bond, a Y-shaped structure called the replication fork is formed. Okay, so the replication fork is formed. Next step is requirement of DNA polymerase. Now DNA polymerase comes to the picture. As I told you, it only works on single strand and only synthesizes in the 5 prime direction to 3 prime direction. Now it cannot begin without primer, that RNA primer. So it waits for the RNA primer, and as the RNA primer signals it that here this is the starting point, please start from here. So it starts its work. As I already told you, the DNA polymerase enzyme works only in 5 prime to 3 prime direction. So there is this, you know that DNA strands are anti-parallel in nature, right? DNA strands are anti-parallel in nature. What does that mean? It means that if one strand is moving in 5 prime to 3 prime direction, then the other strand is in 3 prime to 5 prime direction, which means only one strand is present which is in 3 prime to 5 prime direction, on which DNA polymerase can work. Now the other strand, which is from 5 prime to 3 prime direction in the same direction of DNA polymerase, it cannot work on that. So what it does, it works oppositely, and it works in fragments, in small fragments, which are known as Okazaki fragments. So the strand which had the polarity of 3 prime direction or to 5 prime direction is known as leading strand, because it does not stop anywhere. The synthesis happens continuously towards the replication fork in the 5 prime to 3 prime direction. Okay, and now the lagging strand, it is synthesized discontinuously in small fragments, which is called Okazaki fragments. Okay, as the fork opens further, new primers must be added for each segment. Okay, now these Okazaki fragments are glued together with the help of DNA ligase. So here comes the role of DNA ligase, which was gluing enzyme. Now, after you do the work, there are some things which are here and there, so we collect everything and clean the space, right? So this is what happens in the DNA replication. So the DNA polymerase also removes the RNA primase and replaces them with DNA nucleotides. Means the RNA primase, which were the origin site, which were telling it the signal, giving it the signal that we have to start from here, have to be removed, right? It cannot stay there forever, right? So it is replaced by nucleotides. And who does the job? Again, DNA polymerase does the same job. Next, the ligation. The DNA ligase seals the gap between the Okazaki fragments to create continuous strand, and at last proofreading is done by DNA polymerase for checking for any errors or to ensure high fidelity. Okay, now the key differences between prokaryotes and eukaryotes are very important for your exam perspective. So the prokaryotes have a single origin of replication. Always remember, the prokaryotes have single origin of replication, but the eukaryotes have multiple origin of replication to speed up the process of copying much larger genomes. Okay, I hope this is understood to you all, and I did try my best, and this is all about DNA replication. Thank you so much.